Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you share and really dig into them to pull out the most interesting, the most important insights.
It's kind of a shortcut to getting informed without feeling totally buried in information.
Exactly. And today we're getting into something really close to home, you could say, based on the document, episode 15, homestory.pdf.
Ah, yes. About how our homes aren't just buildings, but how they sort of hold our memories and our stories.
Precisely how they shape and store our personal narratives.
Hmm.
So, for the learner out there, our mission today is, well, to unpack this clearly, give you the key takeaways, but also those memorable little details.
It's about exploring those maybe surprising ways our actual physical spaces get tangled up with our lives, our family histories.
Let's start with something foundational. The document mentions memory palaces from ancient Greece. How does that fit in?
Right. The basic idea was using a familiar space, like a building or a route, in your mind to mentally place information you wanted to remember. Walk through the palace, find the info.
Okay, so like a mental filing system using space.
Exactly. And the fascinating thing is how that becomes almost literal in our actual homes. They aren't just mental maps, they're physical ones we live inside.
So our houses become these real-world memory palaces. Like think about a kid's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
A specific corner where they always sat to read, maybe, or I don't know, the top stair they were scared of?
Yeah, those spots become more than just locations. They turn into these mnemonic landmarks in their personal timeline. Even really mundane things like the kitchen counter.
Right, where maybe homework battles happened or holiday cookies are made year after year, it gets etched in.
And it's often less about a single big event and more about the accumulation. The document talks about echoes and routines.
Echoes and routines.
Yeah, the smell of coffee brewing every morning in the same spot, the way sunlight hits a certain chair, the sound of a specific floorboard creaking. These sensory details, these routines, they weave together to make that corner, that room, part of your life's, well, scrapbook.
A scrapbook, I like that. So it's not just passively holding memories.
No, not at all. That's a key point. Homes don't just preserve memories, they actively edit them.
Edit them, how so?
Well, think about the choices we make. What gets put on display? A wedding photo, a child's drawing.
Okay, yeah. Versus what gets, shoved in a box in the basement or the attic.
Exactly. And which rooms get updated? Maybe sleek new kitchen replaces the old one where all those cookie memories were made? And which rooms are kept exactly the same like a time capsule?
And who decides? That's a big part of it too, isn't it? In a family, there's probably some negotiation, maybe even arguments about what counts as the memory to preserve.
Precisely. This shapes what the document calls a curated narrative. It
Mm.
gives the example of, say, grandparents' photos being very visible. That's the endorsed heritage, right?
Hmm.
But maybe photos of, I don't know, an uncle nobody talks to anymore. They quietly disappear from the mantelpiece, from that story wall.
So the home is like, it's both an archive and a redactor.
An editor. That's a great way to put it. The things we keep out, the furniture we cherish, those are the endorsed memories. They get to stay in the story.
And the things we paint over or renovate away or just discard, those are the erased bits, or at least the revised chapters.
Yeah, it's a constant process of curation.
Yeah.
Now, think about how kids experience this. Their first sense of self, of safety, it's so tied to spatial consistency, isn't it?
You mean like knowing their room will be the same when they wake up?
Exactly. That same nightlight casting the same shadows, the specific creak on the stairs, and dad's coming up, even the overall smell of the house, it's all part of that foundational safety.
That makes sense. It links to that idea of place identity the document mentions.
Precisely. Place identity isn't just knowing your address. It's this deeper sensory feeling of what home feels like. It's visceral.
And kids are actively building stories in that space all the time, aren't they? Play corners become kingdoms.
Forts made of blankets are secret headquarters.
Drawings on the fridge are communiques.
Exactly. And family traditions are huge here, too. Sunday pancakes at the same table, bedtime stories in the same chair. These rituals build the narrative of this is us, this is home.
And their own space changes too, right? Like the bedroom evolves as they grow, holding different layers of memory.
Absolutely. And it's important, as the source notes, that a child's memory of home often isn't linear like an adult's might be.
How do you mean?
It's more like fragments,
Hmm.
intense sensory details, feelings, the rhythm of rituals, rather than a neat chronological plot. It's an emotional texture.
Okay, moving on from childhood experiences, let's talk about objects. Family photos, heirlooms. The document calls them embodied stories.
Yes, or memory objects, biographical objects. Anthropologists use these terms because these things aren't just things. They encode so much identity, love, grief, heritage.
Can you give some examples from the source, maybe?
Sure. Think about a Christmas ornament passed down for generations. Every year you hang it, you're connecting to all those previous Christmases,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Or like a handwritten recipe card tucked in a kitchen cabinet. You see the handwriting, maybe a food stain.
And you're connected to the person who wrote it, the meals they made. Or a quilt made from baby clothes. It literally embodies that period of life.
So these objects and where we put them turn parts of our homes into these, what did the document call them? Curated altars of family identity.
Exactly. Mantles, dining tables, fridges, bookshelves.
Yeah.
What we display shows who we think we are, or maybe who we want to be. And what's hidden away tells a story, too.
And the key thing isn't necessarily the object's monetary value.
No, not at all. It's about the relationship. It signifies the link between past, present, and future selves. It's the story, not the stuff itself.
But not all home stories are happy or openly discussed. The document brings up stories that don't get told.
Right. This is crucial. Homes also hold unspoken things, traumas like abuse, illness, the difficult parts of life. Sometimes even death creates silences.
Like ghost rooms, spaces people avoid because the memories are too painful.
Precisely. Or that very powerful image of the empty chair at the dinner table. A constant, silent marker of absence.
It makes you think. The absence of memory, or the avoidance of it, can be just as defining as what is remembered.
Absolutely. The document uses the terms noise and echoes. Some rooms might have a kind of background noise, attention from old arguments, things unsaid.
Like you can still feel the static.
Sort of. While other places have echoes, the feeling of someone's presence who is gone, or the resonance of what wasn't said. A profound sense of absence.
And grief. Grief must completely change the story of a home.
Profoundly. It can become a living eulogy, as the document puts it. The belongings left behind become narrators.
And those objects can become incredibly precious, almost sacred,
Oh,
or,
the opposite.
right, unbearable.
Exactly. Sometimes they have to be removed to allow healing. Even a change in smell, the absence of someone's perfume, or pipe smoke, can be incredibly disruptive to memory.
This ties into the idea of ritual, doesn't it? Rituals help manage these things, perhaps.
Yes. Ritual as story building. Repeating traditions, birthday songs in the same spot, Friday movie nights, holiday meals, they create predictability. Cohesion.
They signal, this is us, this is stable. Even the small things, like pizza night or Sunday cleaning.
Those mundane rituals are anchors. Psychologically, they regulate time, reinforce identity, connect generations. They provide continuity, especially through tough times, divorce, moving, loss.
So the home isn't just a stage for stories, it's actively involved.
It's where stories are rehearsed, rewritten, and remembered constantly.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. What about beyond the single house? Neighborhoods as collective story ecosystems.
Right. The stories inside our walls don't exist in isolation. They leak out, they interact. Think about block parties.
Kids playing together, running between houses.
Neighbors helping each other during a storm or sharing grief over a local tragedy. These create shared interhome memories, a collective narrative.
That ecosystem can be fragile. Neighborhood changes, gentrification, decay.
Exactly. That disrupts the shared memory bank. That's when you hear things like, oh, that corner store, it used to be a fantastic bakery.
Oh.
Or remembering a specific tree that got cut down.
So the story of a home is partly communal, and it can be lost or overwritten by bigger changes.
Definitely. Now, let's zoom back into the structure itself.
Right.
Architecture and the shaping of memory. How does the actual design impact things?
Well, the document mentions nooks and crannies becoming hideouts, holding emotional imprints.
Yeah, or think about open-plan kitchens designed to encourage shared experiences, shared stories, versus, say, a house with lots of small closed-off rooms, which might foster more private narratives.
Oh, and the height markings on a door frame. That's such a perfect example.
Literal traces of growing stories, tangible evidence of time passing within those walls.
And architects are now consciously thinking about designing for memory.
Yes, increasingly. Thinking about how to build in spaces that encourage memory making. Maybe framing a beautiful view, designing staircases that invite interaction.
Using specific materials, textures, sounds.
Multisensory features, exactly. And this idea of slow spaces, places designed for reflection, pausing, stepping outside the everyday rush. Meaningful homes often have these spaces for pausing, mourning, storytelling.
Which leads right into renovation. Architectural memory and renovation as revision. If you knock down a wall,
You might literally be erasing the spot where a first step was taken or where a certain family photo always hung. Repainting a teenager's room can feel like painting over their whole identity formation period. It can feel like rewriting history.
But it can also be positive, right? Reclamation.
Yes, absolutely. Rebuilding after a difficult event like a divorce, creating a space that feels safe and new after trauma, starting new traditions in a space that might have felt painful once.
So every change to the house is, in a sense, a change to its story.
Every home revision is a story revision. You're reshaping the narrative along with the space.
Let's get a bit more philosophical. The document quotes Gaston Bachelard saying the home is the topography of our intimate being.
It's a beautiful line, isn't it? It captures how deeply the home maps onto our inner selves. It can become like a character in the family story, passed down, remembered fondly.
And different cultures have different ways of preserving these home stories.
Very much so. Oral traditions are vital in many indigenous cultures. Shrines or ancestor altars are central in many East Asian homes. For diasporic families, food, specific objects, music, these become powerful ways to carry the memory of home across distances.
It really drives home that idea of the house as a narrative ecology, a living system that holds our stories.
And shapes our identities. Which brings us right up to the present. Digital storytelling in the home era.
Ah, yes. Smart homes tracking our routines, photo clouds holding thousands of images, social media sharing glimpses inside.
Digital journals, videos of everything. We're capturing home life like never before. An unprecedented digital archive.
Is it all good? The document raises some downsides. Overwhelming. Fragmented.
Disembodied, perhaps.
Yeah.
All those photos on the cloud. But are they looked at? Reflected on? Moments recorded, but maybe not fully lived in.
It leads to that really interesting question. When everything is captured, what becomes sacred? What memories truly stand out when there's just so much data?
Something to think about.
Yeah.
And finally, one last crucial element. Tactile memory.
Meaning the feel of things.
Exactly. Stories aren't just seen or heard, they're felt. The cool smoothness of a banister under your hand, the specific give of a porch step, the sound of a latch clicking shut.
The sensations you don't even realize you're storing away.
These kinesthetic memories,
Yeah.
they can just ambush you years later, right?
Mhm.
A similar texture or sound can bring a whole flood of feeling back long after you've left the physical place.
It's like the document says, some stories are stored in the muscles, not the mind. Our bodies remember the house.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's really clear, isn't it?
Mm.
Our homes are so much more than walls and a roof. They are deeply intertwined with our memories, actively shaping our personal and family stories.
Yeah, we've touched on how they act as archives, editors, stages for ritual, repositories of objects, even how their physical structure influences us.
From the conscious curation of what we display, to the unconscious absorption of sensory details, to the stories held in heirlooms and the ones left unspoken. It's incredibly complex.
And as a final thought for everyone listening, think about this. Even when a house is physically gone, sold, torn down, left behind its story, it doesn't completely disappear.
Where does it go?
Well, it lives on inside us, right? It's woven into who we are. So maybe reflect on that. How have the homes you've lived in shaped the story you tell about yourself today?